But hello, we're live, we're broadcasting. Podcast 850,001, I've already said it, with our guest, Joel. I can't remember your second name. I'm really sorry. I feel like such a bad friend.
It's fine. Do you need it?
No, I don't need it. I
just
just wanted to introduce you properly. I do know your second name. Anyway, Bottler Joel on Twitch. Bottla Joel.
I know, Joel Coxon, there, second name. I'm obviously slightly like, should I put that out there in case my family stray across this? But
why? Well,
it'll be fine.
This is the thing. So, we're gonna talk about some heavy topics here today, purely because of the fact that we're going to mention religion. We touched upon this in our last podcast with Meg Holloway, briefly about how it has affected sex and gender politics, and just religion in general. I absolutely hate religion. I think it's a complete waste of time, and I just really don't like it. Joel's here, had some bad experiences. Casper's on the fence, but we're here to. I just want to do a disclaimer before we get into anything. We are here to talk about this, and those are our viewpoints. So, if you are sensitive to this, we don't have anything against you if you're not an asshole, obviously, but that hasn't got anything to do with your religion. That's just whether or not you're a cunt. So, that being said, let's get into it. So, Casper, what were you saying? Sorry, just before I had to do my disclaimer.
I was just saying that I'm a bit on the fence about religion, because I understand why people believe in it, because some people need something to believe in to get themselves through the day. Like, I don't want to compare God to Santa, but I'm about to.
I mean, they both go stupidly fast. They both see everything that everyone does. They're both very arbitrary in their decision making. They both give very strange gifts.
And they're both not fucking real.
What I mean is that kids like believing in Santa because it's nice, it's fun. Some people might think that about God or whatever sort of God they believe in. Like, I understand why people have to believe in it, and it's nice. And
I do understand the need to believe. I just think there's better things to believe in than something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But Joel, tell us about your experiences. Where are you in terms of your actual, like, how? Because I know you had bad experiences with religion, but you yourself, do you believe in the existence of a god?
No. Somehow I still feel like I should identify as agnostic, not because I'm on the bench about gods, but because there's just so much in the universe that we don't know, because so much of it is just massive. Like, the expanse of it is that obviously there's many worlds theory when it comes to quantum physics. There's all sorts of different theories. Ooh, hello, Danny. Sorry, I've got the chat up. So it's not that I'm like on the fence about gods or anything. It's just more on the fence about, is there some kind of, let's say, I wouldn't say spirit, but
higher
other
being.
thing. Not necessarily even one, just other thing that has an influence on the universe. Oh, and the chickens are making a noise. Don't know if you can hear that.
We can't hear that. Danny in my chat just made a good point on the subject of Santa, Casper. Kids believe in Santa and it's nice and fun and good-spirited, but people believe in a god which supports incest, slavery, and expelling people for their differences. So I think that is
when
a very
you put
key
it like
difference
that,
there.
Santa's a lot nicer than God.
I mean,
Santa's this cheery guy who gives you presents or coal, and God is this guy who, if you decide to ask for water when you're stranded in the desert, he will send a plague of snakes down to kill half the population. That actually happened in the Bible.
I think the Bible is very outdated and it needs updating, really. Like, someone needs to think, oh, we need a modern Bible, because it's old and outdated. If somebody updated the Bible and updated Christianity, which isn't likely to happen anytime soon, then maybe I would lean towards it. But who knows? That's not going to happen, so that's all. So I'm never going to lean towards it.
It's really not. As someone who's experienced a lot from the inside, and because I'm still living with them, especially during lockdown, I still experience what they're like. There's a huge resistance within, especially the more conservative Christian, the arsehole Christian.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a bit about
a huge
that.
pushback against.
Go on.
About what? Sorry. There's a huge pushback between against any kind of like updated translations or anything. They throw the word liberal around a lot, like anything that isn't, say, the King James version. So with the these and thous and old meanings, and any new translation that questions the past 2,000 years of translations is seen as evil. There's just no room for them to even consider that it needs to be updated. They're just, I don't want to say blind, but they're blind.
Yeah.
And
Like,
ignorant.
Yeah.
I
can
don't
see it, I can see it,
understand
Brian.
why people think, why anyone could think that a text that was written over 20,000 years ago now is still relevant, because tweets that were written this time last year about the start of lockdown certainly aren't relevant.
Yeah.
It'll all be over by Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
there's so much in terms of it being updated and things that just doesn't apply anymore, and I feel like that's it just doesn't make any sense to me to have a rule book from so many years ago. You know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Joel, should we talk a bit about, if you're comfortable talking about it, of course, we did speak about this a little bit beforehand. What is it like being in that kind of, because you, as you said, you're in a very conservative Christian family, you're a very conservative situation. So how has that had an effect on you in your life, in the years you've been alive? I believe it's 20 years you've been alive.
Yes.
How's that affected
21
you
this
and
year.
Your,
but-
you have 21 years. Congratulations for reaching that
Not
milestone.
yet, but
You can drink. You
Not
can drink
yet.
anywhere in the world now. Well,
yeah,
soon.
not
Soon.
yet.
Soon.
Not yet. Soon.
But
soon,
how has that
soon.
had an effect on you and the way you view the world?
This is a little bit where to start, really. It's like a little bit of a.
Well, let's
all the way
let's-
from the
Yeah, go on.
childhood effects. Shall we start there? I don't want to
Uh,
make this like the center of the podcast. I don't want to take your podcast away from you.
I want
But I know
to
you
know.
have
I
an
want to
idea.
know how. I want to know to the core of it. I want to know, because obviously you've stepped away from it. But how did that affect you growing up? Was it difficult? Did you ever face like fights and arguments with family over things, or what was the breaking point? Because I know you've left that behind you now. So what was the breaking point for you? How you came to realize that? Like what brought you to this point where you're just like, actually no, fuck you, I'm gonna go on a podcast and talk about how shit religion is.
Well, to be honest, there wasn't really a specific breaking point. It just kind of slowly came on. Like I started noticing things. I think there was one moment where I realized just how fucked up it all is. That was, I got into an online relationship with a Christian, and it kind of, let's just say it wasn't very healthy, and it brought to the forefront just how abnormal these kind of actions are.
With the relationship.
Assholes.
Sorry, you cut out for me, and all I heard was assholes.
Sorry. So at the same time, I was finally meeting people online who weren't assholes, because all through my childhood, I had essentially been limited to my family and the church, because I was homeschooled in a very secluded way. Any outsider was seen as evil and a satanic influence. So
Wow.
I was told if I so much as stepped outside the front door, I would be swiped away.
Now that's a different level of overprotection. That's insane protection.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah.
So how did that affect your social life outside of as did you have one outside of your family?
Not until I finally started going online on. I know this is a bit cringe, but on Minecraft servers.
That's not. We all
Put that
have
out
our
there.
thing. Mine was Roblox, my dude. So I think you're okay.
Okay. I
Mine was
feel
Habbo
better about
Hotel.
myself now. Okay, I
Sorry,
feel better
Casper.
about myself now.
Casper, what did you say?
Mine was Habbo Hotel, if anyone remembers that.
Oh, Habbo Hotel. I played a little bit of Habbo Hotel.
I played a
Um,
lot of it and spent a lot of real life money on it, and my
Oh.
family were not very pleased with me.
RuneScape was another one for me. Do you guys remember
Oh yeah, I
RuneScape?
played a lot of
Like
RuneScape
not the
as well.
new updated RuneScape, the old school RuneScape. Now that was a time, that was a journey. So you found some kind of social influences on the outside. So
Yeah.
how did comparing other people's lives to yours go? Like, was it a conversation where you just where you were talking to an online friend and they said something like, "Oh, I can just go outside," and you were just like, "Wait, people can do that?" Or what was it like just interacting with people outside of that?
Um. A bit like that, yeah. But although to start, it was mainly just awkwardly trying to actually get my head around, talking to people and socializing because
Hmm.
I had barely had any of that. I'm still working on it to this day. It kind of messed me up that much that I'm still having to learn a
Yeah.
lot of different things, ways to interact with people. I'm still working on it. It's been a lot of trial and error, mostly error.
I mean, it's trial and
But there
error
were,
for all of us. So I can
yeah.
see that. So you're doing I
Hmm.
think you're doing fine
Hmm.
considering this situation. Anyway, sorry, I'm distracting. Go on.
Um, uh, on that, just quickly, quick tangent on that now. Um, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I went to an art class, and
Hmm.
the teacher there said that it was like watching someone go through their teenage years in 2 months. It was just the development I had to go through in order to actually, be able to properly interact with people. It was, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That I was having to learn basically. I was basically having to develop my social skills from early school times. Like as you'd do like early on in school or something. I had to rush
Yeah.
through all that.
Oh,
And she said it
yeah.
was very, very strange to see, almost like watching skimming through a TV show almost. But
Hmm.
but with sorry if I'm like I'm speaking the best.
No, go on.
Just a little, but with like actually finding out what other people are like and just like what other people can do and that hey this isn't normal, it was a bit like those conversations because as I slowly got to know more people, they just talk about things and I was like wait no you can do that.
Yeah.
For
What
instance,
that's something
Yeah.
I want. Yeah. Give us an example. I want to
yeah,
know what kind of thing.
for instance, this is a bit one I'm a bit ashamed of.
You
Obviously
don't have to tell us
my
anything you're not comfortable telling us. Like,
No, no,
you
I'm
know.
I'm okay telling it. I'm okay telling
Okay.
it because
Go ahead.
it's not me. It's what my parents had told me.
Right.
They're very, very Islamophobic, and
Ah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I basically met someone who turned out I started talking to him, and then found out he was a Muslim, and it like blew my mind that he was a good person because they told me so many horrendous things that just weren't true. They said
Yeah.
that if I ever said anything outside those four walls, I'd be shot.
You'd be
Like,
what? Sorry?
shot. Like
Shot.
they really hammered in the whole you can't say that any other religion is bad or anything else is bad. It was like if you say anything that is not Christian, they will shoot you.
Who are they?
No,
who
that
will
is
shoot you?
Christian. Sorry,
Who-
just people, the government.
the government will
The
rain down upon you because you said something
Yeah?
unchristian.
No, that was Christian. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So
I'm
you're
like
talking
against
about
another
religion.
so they feel oppressed. Is that it? They feel
Yes,
like
even though they're in a country with free speech, they're able to have
Okay.
Zoom meetings during a pandemic to have their sermons done and everything. They feel somehow oppressed with that, and basically, it just back to the thing. It just kind of blew my mind at the time, and just made me realize that, clearly there's something wrong with what they've been telling me. And that guy, a nicer bit to that tale. He ended up becoming my best friend. We recently did lose contact, sadly, because some things have just gone on.
yeah.
Like, nothing bad. It's just lost contact because I had to get a new Instagram account, and we only talked over there.
Yeah. Okay.
But we like over the years just became best friends. We, to be honest, kind of saved each other's lives, and that just like was definitely one of the moments when I realized that they were just full of shit.
Yeah.
Because they tried to make it out so that anyone who wasn't a Christian would try to kill me, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which is a
there were
valid fear if you've been told that all your life. Like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I met other people online, talked to other people, so like found out that generally speaking, it is safe to be outside. Obviously, not depending on who you are. It's safe.
And also not at the
yeah.
not at the moment either.
Yeah, not at the moment. Stay indoors, people.
But no one's
They-
going to gun you down because you're a Christian. That's
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I haven't heard before. Actually, I've heard all the you're going to burn in hell if you say this or that, and God will never open his gates to you, and all the other worldly shit that no one can disprove, which is why it's scary. But I've never heard, oh yeah, if you go outside, people are gonna shoot you because you're Christian. I've never heard that one
That's
before.
a new one to me. But I do totally understand why you were scared of it if you'd been told that for your entire life, because no matter how ridiculous it might sound now that you know that that's not true, when you've only been told one thing for your entire life, then...
especially from people who represent authority figures in your life,
especially when they're the only people who I talk to.
Yeah, like
So
you've
it's
got
like
nothing.
that. Yeah.
You've not got any teachers at school who can be like, actually, Joel, you don't you don't have to worry about this or that. You've just got your parents and I'm assuming your older siblings as well, who are just telling you how life is when it's really not.
Yeah, so far I'm the only one who's broken out of the indoctrination in my family. So
That's very sad.
Yeah, hopefully more people can see the light, but I just don't see that happening right now. They're very entrenched in it.
It can take time.
I think during the pandemic, there's been a bit of a rise. There's been a rise of conspiracy theories, obviously, but there's also been a rise of people, mainly in America, blaming other religions for COVID and blaming like the Asian fear-mongering. Basically, there's been a rise of fear-mongering. That's the word I wanted. So
yeah,
I think that probably won't do anybody any favors.
No.
So it's kind of driven my family to another almost like level of it, because my parents are now convinced that within the next 100 years the world's going to end, because pandemic, the gays have rights. Hello, I am bi, just so I can say that. Can I think, because I'm bi.
You can say that, yes.
Yeah, you can.
No, we should have rights. We do have rights, and I'm glad we have rights.
Yeah.
Just obviously trying to blame. I don't believe any of their crap anymore.
Yeah,
About
sorry,
the gays.
I that took me aback a second. Of course, you can say that. Like any part of the
Yeah.
Okay.
LGBT community, anyone can say that. It's just about whether or not they believe it and whether or not and how they're saying it and who they're saying it to. But yes, that's definitely a thing that everyone should be saying. The
Okay.
gays should have rights.
Yeah.
100%.
They should. We should. Everyone should.
Yes.
Generally,
100%.
everyone should have rights, except for cunts.
Right, so I
Well,
wasn't going to I did because on the last podcast you did come into chat and you got the discussion expanded on a lot of on a lot of topics we talked about, which I thought was amazing, and it's exactly what I want this podcast to be, is the chance to get involved either in the chat or get involved with the guests or whatever and talk about things. But you did make some points on sexuality, and I was only going to ask about sexuality vaguely because you have told me before that you didn't want to discuss your sexuality live on air. Has that changed because you just mentioned that you were bisexual?
Yeah, I think that has changed. I'm a bit more confident about being open about that because kind of had to think about it. Logically, they're never going to find this, and even if they ever do, so I'm not saying you're small. I'm never going to go anywhere. Sorry, that came as bad.
Are you saying that I'm not a good streamer? No, I'm joking. Carry on.
I know. But even if they do end up finding it, it will probably be so far in the future that like I'll have already been disowned by then. I'll have already escaped. I'll have already been disowned and come out. But yeah, and it's best. It's good to just get that experience out. Tell people about the experience. There might be other people who are in the same place and don't know if anyone else is being through it too. So it's just good to get that out there.
Yeah, I do want to touch on that a bit more later on in the podcast, but just so I can talk about what I was going to talk about before it leaves my mind. Essentially, as I said, I was going to talk about sexuality vaguely, as in like questions like how you think religion has impacted sex and sexuality in the world. But first off, considering that you've mentioned it, by the way, very brave of you, and I have a lot of respect for that. Because you did say you didn't want to because of obviously the safety and stuff, but it's very brave of you to come out and say this. So yes, massive respect for that, dude. Anyway, you personally, how has growing up in this situation with all this religion and how it's impacted you in your life, how has that affected your sexuality and coming to terms with it?
It was difficult, very difficult. There's quite a few things there's some things I don't think so where to start? So when I started noticing that I was bi, attracted to men, as well. Obviously at the time I was still heavily in the I'm going to say cult, because let's be fair, it's more a cult right now. No one talks to anyone outside, that kind of stuff. Religion, cult, depending on what it's like, they can be interchangeable.
I agree. They are interchangeable pretty much, like with a few examples.
And I believe there can be good cults and there can be good things. There can be good ways of because there's a cult could be anything. Like you could say that people who like Marvel movies are all in a cult of people who like Marvel movies, and then that's fine because they're not harming anyone. And if you're in your little cult of we all believe in God, as long as you're not being a cunt and infringing on other people's rights and identity, then fine, go ahead. Sorry. Anyway, we were distracting. go on.
So when I started noticing it, I just kind of entered into a bit of a pit of self-hate because I just, I was basically taught, doing anything like this is such an evil disgrace. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should talk to anyone. I'm just going to put this out here. I'm scared of my dad. Uh, yeah, there's been a lot of bad incidences. So, to be honest, that probably helped because I didn't talk to him about it. I kept it inside and let it just, let myself slowly come to terms with it. Although that did take many years, and it kind of got to a point where every time I would, feel like that or think like that, I would harm, and just to try to stop myself from thinking like that. But as I went into college, so even through all the friendships I had with people online, it carried on until I finally went to college, and I actually met people in the flesh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was kind of made aware of just how small that just how not like religion isn't as popular as it is anymore as it was before.
Yeah.
It's gone a lot smaller. I was basically led to believe that the majority of people thought the same we did. Well, I say we, they did.
Yeah.
So it did kind of like shock me a bit to see that, and as I slowly got to meet new people and just like talk about things, I'm trying to like flick through 2 years in my head at once. It's, just like
So
slowly
was
started
this
to be a
A
bit.
levels? Sorry, was this A?
Yeah, it was A levels.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
A levels.
Just to
Yeah,
make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, it's quite interesting what you're saying there. Sorry, carry on in a second. I just wanted to interject about the sort of expanding your horizons in a sense of. I never even considered that aspect of it. Because obviously I had my thing where I got made aware of the wider world, but it wasn't to the same degree because yours sounds a lot like your world was just this small, this thing where everybody was this certain way, and then suddenly, no, it's not. And it's completely changed. I just want to say that's interesting. I've never thought about it that way. Anyway, sorry.
It must have been a bit of a culture shock, was it?
Yeah,
it really was.
That's the word I'm looking for. Well done,
really
Casper.
was.
Good term. Good term. Thank you.
Very good.
But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, those years obviously some of the worst years because of obviously the culture shock, trying to get used to it. I was naive. People, there were some cunts out there who did like basically take advantage of that. But I got to know some people in my classes, just generally, and we just started openly talking about things. And they were like, "Oh, I'm an atheist. Oh, I'm Hindu. I'm Buddhist," and I was like, "Oh, they're good people."
Yeah.
And we started talking about things like that. Brought open a conversation about that,
Good
and
people
it slowly
exist?
allowed me. Good people who don't say to stone the gays.
How could it be?
What is that? But yeah, it like slowly opened up a dialogue about that and got me thinking, because obviously I'd had all these thoughts in myself related about my own self-hate about that, but seeing them being so just okay with it, fine with it, seeing that it's not a problem, just allowed that dialogue to be opened. And then I went to NCS, and
I did NCS.
that was a mind blower.
I did NCS.
In both the good and bad way.
For those who are uneducated swine like myself, what the fuck is NCS?
How do you explain what NCS was?
What does it stand for? What does it stand for?
I think it's
National Citizenship Service, I think. Is it?
Yeah, National Citizen Service, I think. It's depending on when you go, it's either a month or a weekend
It was
place.
For me,
I did mine for
just
a weekend.
I
just did it for a weekend.
What do you do on this? Sorry. Sorry for yawning.
Like
what do you do on this?
Yes. I'm just like, it's so entertaining.
It's a bit like a summer camp.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it. It's like a summer camp where loads of people who've just finished school or college, like, I think there's like 2 age groups, meet up together and they go on like an adventure holiday. Was that what yours was? It was like rock climbing and hiking and stuff.
Yes,
And
it
then
was really good.
and then the second week we stayed in uni accommodation. Did you do that?
No.
Uh,
What I did
it
was
might have changed since I did it, because I did it almost 10 years ago now.
I did mine in the autumn is the thing, so it wasn't the full experience. Because
Oh,
I know the summer one
I
is
did
the
mine in the
larger one.
summer. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be it.
It was like
Mine was a.
rock
You go
climbing
on,
and
sorry.
kayaking and like archery and stuff like that, wasn't it?
So okay, so just a big activities thing to get you inspired for the wider world, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, so
and
you went
just,
you
like,
went on
discussing-
this NCS. What happened there?
Yeah. They had just generally discussions about acceptance, sexuality, gender, just openness, other religions, and it just like was like that final push to like get me to open up as it is. Like it kind of like made me realize although I must say all through this, starting from that abusive relationship I was in online, I had started having a look on YouTube at different YouTubers who had been struggling with the same thing. There's a really amazing YouTuber called Telltale Atheist. He's an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and he goes around basically talking about a lot of the stuff they say, debunking a lot of the stuff they say, talking about cults, about religion, and talking about just how harmful they can be. And it
Got some new
was one of the things, I should have mentioned this before, but it was one of the things that just like helped to slowly turn the gears in my head and make me realize maybe this isn't okay. Because he'd like go through like how contradictory the Bible is, how just fucked up it is.
What's he called? Sorry, I'm just gonna say.
Telltale Atheist.
Yeah, I think it's just Telltale. If you search
Yeah,
Telltale,
it's just Telltale
Yeah,
now.
found it,
top
found
result.
It used to be
I've
Telltale
showed it on
Atheist, but yeah.
I've showed it on my stream, so in the archive, people will be able to see what we're talking about. So you found this person, this resource online.
Yeah.
How did that help?
It just kind of like, because there was so much that I could relate to, and obviously he's come out of it now, and he knows, just how messed up it is himself. He's been looking a lot into like, religions and the Bible and everything. So he's like educated on it. He educated himself on it so that he can pick out the contradictions and talk about just how messed up it is, in a proper way. Like talk about that in a proper way rather than just saying like, no, you can't say this or that.
I'm just scrolling through his channel now, and it does look quite interesting actually. I might give this a watch.
Mayor Moore in my chat just says, "Lol, if you can be gay in hell, I'm happy to be going."
I've just sort of seen what Danny said about the
I do read my messages. I do see them. Thank you for chatting. I'm sorry I don't get to all of them. We just end up having a conversation, and then the conversation moves on. I forget to read some out.
Quickly.
Thank you for commenting and messaging anyway. I will read out some messages when I can.
I just wanted to quickly.
It's going to be a great party. I love that.
I just wanted to quickly touch on what Danny said, because I've seen that from the inside. Because
just to say, he said, "I've had many encounters with Christian views as I'm trans and gay. It's a magnet for the gays are going to hell. And do you enjoy sinning?" Comments.
Oh yeah, it is.
And honestly, like, it's as targeted as it. I know it can be sometimes probably be hard to believe. They can't just go out and target people like this. They do target people like this. If my family are walking down the street and they see someone who is trans, or they see two gay people kissing, they will make a comment. They will either be muttering under their breath or this out loud comment about the Bible or God or sin. They will aggressive about it. It's like looking from the position I'm in now, like with how I am, obviously no longer sharing their views. I almost wouldn't expect people to be like that in a way, except for the fact that I've witnessed it from the
Yeah.
inside, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
like it seems almost like a cartoon villain thing, but it's
Yeah.
such a widespread thing that needs to be talked about more because
Hmm.
it can really mess people up. I've seen some of the damage it can do to people. I was friends with someone, and we started calling during A levels, and we started calling online on Skype. It was a while ago. Skype is dead.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my dad was just kind of like twigged that he wasn't. Well, he didn't twig that he was gay, but he did twig that he wasn't Christian. And so every time we started calling, he would go out of his way to come into my room and make a passing comment. So, for instance, why are you talking to that guy? He's never going to get anywhere. He's just dragging you down. It didn't even have to relate to him not being a Christian. It just was so that he could hurt him. They can be that malicious.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so unneeded.
Sorry, I've derailed that, haven't I?
No, it's
No, it's quite an
it's fine.
interesting
It's good. It's
topic.
good. So yeah, it's just the offhand passing comments that that's something I can't stand because it's like quote unquote smart bullying I used to receive in school where they say something that's not so bad that they can get called out on it really. Because if you repeated that to someone, it would be like, oh, they're not really saying anything, or it's just banter, bro, or they're just messing around, whatever. But actually, no one can quantify how much that can hurt a person or that person's friend if they're interacting with them or whatever. Yeah. So yeah. I'm trying to think back to what we said, what we were talking about last podcast as well, because we did mention a couple of things. What would you say to someone who is out there who feel like they might be any form of LGBT, be it trans or gay or just bisexual or anything? What would you say to someone who's out there who's in maybe not an exact same situation, because I don't know of many situations where it's as closed off and as cult-like as your family sounds, but in that protective, that conservative environment, maybe not even Christian, maybe just that conservative environment, but yeah, that religious one, that whole kind of thing. What would you say to someone who might be out there, who might be listening, who might want to know what to do with their sexuality or their identity?
I can say two things really. It just depends on how far into the conservatism they are. If they're like far into it and struggling with like the self-hate and like, you know, only just realizing, you know, who they are, I'd say more along the lines of try and find these resources on YouTube like I did, but keep an open mind, because early on it was hard to keep an open mind with that. Like if I came across something, I'd just be like, oh no, I can't see that, I can't watch that, I can't read that. But as I slowly watched other things that then led into it, I slowly started opening my mind. So I would definitely say, you know, keep an open mind with it. Don't just shut things off. You know, there should be a dialogue about it, whether or not, you know, from a neutral, let's say from a neutral standpoint, even though I already, you know, Christianity is in the wrong here, but from a neutral standpoint, there needs to be a dialogue. So keep your mind open and just have a look at that. Have a look at, for instance, Telltale, or maybe the science behind, you know, proving that it's wrong, you know, proving that there was a Big Bang, that the universe is 13 billion years old.
Yeah.
Just to like, because it can be a bit hard when it's more of a question of dogma over science, because then it feels more like if someone comes to you saying, Christianity wrong, and you're still stuck in the mindset, it can come off as hurtful and that can close you off more. But if someone comes up to you and says, this proves this about the age, you know, have you heard of this about geography, or like, you know, how the tectonic plates have worked over millions of years, for instance, that can just sort of open up a dialogue and open up a line of inquiry that can lead to freedom of thought, really.
Yeah.
But if it's someone who's, you know, is more trapped in a situation like I was later than that. So, like, you know, when I was actually sort of like going out looking for answers, but still trapped and didn't know what to do, then I would say, it's difficult to word.
Take your time.
First of all, I would definitely say try and reach out somewhere to someone so that you can have that outside connection, outside of the circle, let's call it, the circle of cult or religion.
Yeah.
So that you can actually, you know, express who you are, because that is a vital part of it.
Yeah.
And I'd almost say, don't be ashamed to wear a mask in front of your family or whoever else is in your religion.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that, for your own safety, you will have to do.
Yeah,
I've done it.
I do want to say,
it can be difficult.
All of this talk. Sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to just say, like, if you and I've stressed this before every single time I talk about this kind of thing. Always make sure you are safe first. You will find your people. You will find your place in the world, and you will be okay. You know, nothing ever has to get to a point where it's so bad that you just have to give up. You can find those people and you can get out of whatever situation you're in, but make sure you're safe first. That is your number one priority at all times. Maya Moore in my chat says it only hurts if you value their opinion. I do get that. I do get where you're coming from with that. I understand that way of thinking, because, you know, if you do value someone's opinion, it will hurt more. But also there's the fact that if you live under someone's roof and they're a lot bigger than you or a lot scarier than you, maybe you're 13, 14, 15, who fucking knows? You need to make sure that you're safe above everything. So, you know, just
but there's also the added layer of...
Get out, but do it in a safe way. Sorry, carry on.
But there's also the added layer of, if you're in a situation like I was, where like that was your whole world, you had no one else, then their opinion was basically what the whole world thought. And so even if you didn't like them, even though I didn't like my family at the time, I hate them now, but I didn't like them back then, their opinion was still like key to me, because I had no one else to talk to. They were just, you know, though you know, it was like, be accepted by them, have their opinions accepted, validate, you know, have their opinions of me be all right, or sit alone and die slowly, kind of thing. Like, I don't know if I've worded that right, but like, when it feels like that is your whole world, their opinions do matter, regardless of who they are as a person, or regardless of whether or not you like them. It's just kind of, it can really get ingrained in your head.
It's like what I was.
Really nicely.
You did. I like that. It was a lot like what we were talking about earlier, where when you have this authority figure, this adult telling you your entire childhood the way things are, that you believe them, because that's all you can do. That's all you know.
Yeah. An important thing to remember is that no matter what the authority figures in your life may say, you can think for yourself, and it's perfectly okay to not agree with what your parents think. It's perfectly okay to not have the same religion as your parents. It's perfectly okay to not support the same political party, even. And
But so to people like who are aware that something is up, who are trying to come to terms with themselves and still stuck in that kind of situation, I would say, don't be ashamed of putting on a mask, because it is safety. Your safety is paramount. Don't be ashamed of having to say what you don't actually believe in front of your parents or in front of those who are closest to you. Like, I have to sometimes agree with them even to this day, because if I don't, I will be out on the streets. I've spent days in the I have spent 2 days before in the like I've spent 2 days of my life in the emergency beds in the YMCA because I got kicked out for not being Christian enough, and I had no one around me at the time, so it was either try and live through that on the streets or come back and basically wear a mask, pretend to be Christian, and so that's what I've been having to carry on and do.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't be. I know it can be very, stinging to have to do that. To have to say the very things that, for instance, if they're having a rant about the gays, to agree with them,
Yeah.
that can hurt so much. But it's important to not lower your mask, because if they know who you are, it will get worse. But at the same time, go out and get those resources. Reach out to people. Watch those YouTube videos that I did that just make you aware you're not the only one there. You're not alone in it. There are other people, and they will help you too. And that, the opinion of those people surrounding you are not the opinions that matter. And if you can, just reach out, but in a way that will not bring attention to it from that close religious circle. I've had to often lie about what I'm doing or who I'm talking to, specifically because of if they found out, I would be out on the streets again. So it's difficult. It can feel like you're lying to yourself, like you're hating yourself, like you're lying to your friends even, potentially, even though you're not lying to them. You're being yourself to them. There are these moments where you will have that almost clash of duality because of having to wear that mask around
it's like
religious core so much.
It's like living two completely different lives, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is. So the most important thing, other than keeping that mask on in a comfortable and safe way, is reach out so that you have those people outside of that religious circle. Because it will it doesn't matter where you're reaching out or who you're reaching out to, just reach out. Even if it's on a Minecraft server, on Roblox, on Habbo Hotel, on the hub.
Anywhere.
It could be on the hub.
Really anywhere. Like the internet, as terrifying and terrible as the internet can be sometimes, there are good people out there who mean well, and there are also always resources, and there are always people, and at the end of the day, you will always find your people, no matter how long it takes. You will find them, and you will be able to get out.
And there's always somebody who will listen to you, no matter how alone you feel. There's always somebody there.
It's just a matter of the time to find them, but you will find them.
Yeah, you will find
them. And that is what to hold on to.
Even if it takes years to find, you will find your people eventually. It took me at least 23 years to find my people.
And another thing to people who have been that kind of secluded homeschool and might have been through the same trial and error I have. As cringe as it sounds, don't let it get to you. Don't let yourself wallow. Well, no, let yourself feel down. Obviously, you need to when you're down. You can't just bottle that up. But if say you've had an error, you've fallen out with people, this has happened to me countless times because I'm still learning. You will find more people who are not only just more accepting of you, but you'll have developed more as a person yourself. Yes, losing friends is a horrendously painful thing, but if you're in the same place I was, you are having to basically live through 16 years of socialization in a year. It will be hard, it will be rough, it will be turbulent, but by the end of it, as you develop, you will develop. That's the thing to hold on to, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you're stuck in the same place, because if I can get better socially, I'm still working on a lot, but I'm getting better. I've learnt things from recent things, from far back things. If you will develop, that is the thing to hold on to. You won't always be held down by homeschool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
No matter how long. Yeah. Sorry, I've gone a bit off topic.
It's all right. It's all right. I feel like we're all developing all the time. Really, like I feel I feel like you're always developing, and it doesn't matter where you enter that stage of socializing, because you will get to a point where everything is okay, and you do find your people, and you do find your situations and everything, and it all works out. Really,
It does. Like, I've been in
it's just getting
places
to that
where,
point, I suppose.
yeah, I've been in places where I've just, I've had friend groups and then just lost them completely, and then it's been a point where I've been like, okay, this just keeps on happening. Is it me? You know, obviously, it's not. It's homeschool. Obviously part of it would have been me, but you
I think there's
need to.
I think there's a. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I think there's a difference between, not knowing how to deal with a situation because you haven't encountered it before, and not taking responsibility for not knowing that situation. Do you get what I mean? Like, if you're to wander into a situation and you don't understand it, then obviously things can fuck up and things can go wrong, but at the end of the day, it's just a learning experience for you. But if you can go into a situation and it's and you do know you've already learned this lesson, but then you refuse to take responsibility for fucking up again, that's a whole other situation. I believe like what you're saying there is true, where you do find how to deal with these situations to get out of the terrifying situations that some people can be in, whether or not it's just homophobic parents or full-on conservative Christian parents like your own. You can get out of it, and you can learn, and don't be afraid to learn. You know, don't be afraid to learn beyond what you've been taught for your entire life.
Yeah, that's an important one to hold on to. Don't be afraid to learn, because if you've been in it for your whole life, you can almost have this fear of it ingrained in you. You'll have basically been taught to repulse anything that says otherwise, and so it can be difficult to get over that. But it's just, learning in itself is priceless, as cringe as that sounds. So just do not be afraid to learn.
I think that's a pretty good message. Right, I'm thinking of wrapping the podcast up, boys, because it's been an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
we didn't touch on the main thing, though. Sorry.
Go on.
You know, the effect of religion on sexuality, sex, women's rights.
This is what I'm saying. I'm just giving a warning for. My hard line for a podcast ending is an hour and a half anyway, so we have got a bit of time still. I'm just thinking of wrapping up around now. But if you want to say some more stuff, how do you think if religion has had an impact on sex and sexuality?
Well, first of all, there's the obvious one of they've made it such a taboo subject to talk about. Like, I found out basically everything I knew through the internet, as bad as that can be. You know, discovering
very, very bad
about porn.
Porn's a horrific place.
Are we allowed to say that on Twitch? Sorry.
We spoke about it in the last podcast, and I will, if I get shut down for protesting against how horrific the porn industry can be towards its creators and towards the people who are addicted to it, then fuck it, I will find a new platform to share my views, because fuck you and fuck off. Right, let's carry on.
Yeah, that kind of lack of knowledge and lack of knowing about it, it can just lead people down a dark road. Thankfully, I've not been down that road myself. But I do know that there are people who have, for instance, been kind of like consumed by, the darker side of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've watched a
Well,
lot
it's
of
an
documentaries
addiction,
about
isn't
that
it?
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. What are we talking about right now? Are we talking about the religion's impact on sex and sexuality, or are we talking about porn? Because I'm happy to talk about both, but they are two completely different sides of the spectrum. So, I mean, they can link in, but
Yeah,
I
I'm
want
mainly
to go
saying
down.
that.
I want to go down the porn route for a second because I have a
Okay.
lot. I have a lot to say about this as a young man who grew up with a lot of social anxiety and a lot of inability to interact with people. I learned a lot through that as well, and it does not make for good young men. It doesn't make for good young women either. But in the women are being told to be submissive in this situation. Men are being told to be incredibly aggressive, and that is not good for anyone across the board. And this is why I brought up the topic of porn in the last podcast, is because that does lead to violence against women, and is just generally so horrific, because no one in porn consents. No one in porn is doing whatever. They're just making the right faces and making the right sounds to please that addictive personality type. And it is horrific, and it's disgusting that we've let the porn industry go on for this long. And I will say this, and I have said this before, and I love saying this. I have massive respect to Belle Delphine for leading the sort of OnlyFans charge, and I have massive respect to a lot of people who are taking that power back for themselves and creating and sharing on a site like such as OnlyFans, where they can express this side of themselves without being trafficked, without being abused, without having men take advantage of them, and then without necessarily broadcasting messages of violence and hatred towards women, and also messages that women have to be submissive and cute and thin in order to be liked. This is my whole other thing, and it doesn't really have much to do with religion. Not gonna lie, I just had to get that out there. I've said it before. I'll keep saying it. Porn is horrific a lot of the time.
Yeah.
The porn industry,
religion,
not porn necessarily, but porn industry. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. It doesn't have a lot to do with religion necessarily, but it is actually similar in some of the effects, because a lot of, for example, in say in just the Bible in general, women are treated a lot like objects. They're often not given, a say in anything. You have all this about the husband being the head of the house.
Yeah.
The husband having the word over the woman.
Yeah,
I remember
as someone
about
just
that
said in my
our
chat,
lessons.
women have been blamed for the original sin. Maya Moore 69 just said, so yes, that's a thing. And it was always very much like you own your wife. This is your property. You know, if you brought it up in the last one. If a man rapes a woman, then he has to pay the family, and then then that's his right, that he owns that woman now. And that has perpetuated through the years and has been a result of a lot of,
and it's just gross
darkness. Oh,
it really is.
Very much.
Since it's permeated the whole, women being submissive has permeated through society too over the millennia. Like, no, that's not how that should be. Women are alive. They have, but instead it's permeated with the whole, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but like where they're expected to be submissive, expected to not talk much, expected to cook, to clean, to be the traditional housewife, to be closed off about, anything sexual, to not know about that. The whole concept of masturbation being evil can link into that, because it's just the lack of knowledge people have.
I was raised as a Christian, as a female, and until I hit the age of 20, I thought masturbation was only a person with a penis thing.
It's led to a lot of...
I had been told for my entire life that it
I
was wrong and
didn't
it was
realize you were
disgusting.
raised Christian, Casper. You have
Only for
not mentioned
boys.
this to me, who has been your boyfriend of 3 years. How did I not know? How do I not know this about you?
I told
What?
you that I went to a Christian primary school. and
You
high
told me
school.
you went to a Christian primary school, but that doesn't have any. I went to a Christian primary school, for 2 years before I got pulled out and went
My
home
mum's
educated.
a Catholic.
So I didn't. I didn't know that. Sorry, that's very weird.
was.
I was just like, what? I've learned something new about my
That's-
boyfriend after 3
Hey.
years.
You finally know.
Wow.
Only took 3 years.
I love it.
I've apparently dropped a bombshell.
Wow.
So shall we end it on that bombshell?
No,
Well, no, I think there's still more to say. I mean, I do want to
Yeah.
bring up if
Is
porn
it
was
rude
made.
if I quickly run to the loo? I really
Go
need
go
a
ahead.
wee.
Yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
that's fine.
I'm gonna read.
That's
I'm gonna
fine.
read out some messages.
You
If
continue
can I
porn,
just-
without
yeah,
me. I need
we
a
will.
wee.
If
Yeah.
porn was made without all the smut, would it be educational? Well, this is the thing. Is people are currently using it as an education. Young boys are using it as an education for sex, which is not a good way of being.
it's not
Like
good
young
at
boys
all.
get aggressive from it, and young women get submissive from it. And it's not
And they-
a great way of being. And
Yeah.
sex was
It-
is that supposed to say taught in the 50s? It's
Yeah, I
taught.
think
Okay,
taught.
so that was taught in the 50s. That it was a woman's duty and that it was okay to beat your wife. Yeah, and I feel like that religion has had a lot of impact on that because
Yeah.
it's only in the last 100 years, really, that a lot of religious
People have
rules
woken
are
up to
being
it.
undone. Like obviously you had the sexual revolution in the 70s. There was a lot of LSD, a lot of drugs going around, a lot of people just experimenting and being more free with each other and with themselves.
But even with that, there was a massive pushback.
Oh yeah, of course
For
there
instance,
was.
you
Of
had
course there was,
Reagan
because they
coming
won-
in.
Yeah, well they did. Yeah, Reagan came in, banned LSD, banned a lot of drugs, because it just went
While
against his
peddling
campaign. All these people being happy and fucking each other doesn't go. It just goes completely against any kind of order or semblance of power that these people wanna take.
Yeah.
And only now, really, we're starting to get to a point where things are getting better slowly. I would like to see in my lifetime, I would like to see a kid get into a relationship and be able to go home to their parent and say, "I'm dating this person now," without even a thought to any kind of fear about that, whether or not the parents accepting. Like I had that fear, even though my dad's the loveliest man in the world and my mum's gay. So, but I still had this thing in my head was just like, how am I gonna say that I'm dating a man? How do I say this? What do I do? How does this work? And I would just love to be the world to be at a point where they can a kid can go home and just say, I'm dating this person, and that's just okay. Like no one cares.
And I'm still not out to my family.
I mean, you are kind
Yes.
of.
I mean, I
I
am
mean-
as trans, but not as anything else. I kind of thought coming out as trans was enough, so I just never came out to them. Like, they know I have a boyfriend, but I've never had to have that conversation with them, and it's quite nice. I just kind of told them that that's what's going on, and they were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still do wanna end soon. So I think I'm gonna have to stop reading messages from chat because they are very interesting. There's a lot of facts there, but I'd want to wrap up. But
We could always
just mention?
continue this
Oh yeah,
at a later
well,
date, of course.
well, what I did want to mention, Joel, is Casper just said there about coming out to his family. Do you ever think that you will come out to your family?
I have to at some point because I want to live my own life, but the very thought of that is terrifying. I have an exit strategy in mind. I want to, be in a stable place, have my own place, stable financially, preferably with a support network around me at the time. And at that point, I will most likely come out to them, not
Yeah.
just as bi, but also as atheist, agnostic. Mainly atheist, but like as I said before, like is there something else, not a god, but something
Does
else?
it ever?
But anyway.
Do you ever get tempted? Like, obviously, don't do this at home if you're watching.
Oh yeah,
this.
I'm not
Don't
gonna.
do what I'm
Don't
about. Don't do what I'm about to ask, Joel. Like, this is a safety issue. But do you ever get tempted to just be like, "Fuck it, I'm bisexual. Fuck you." Like, I know obviously, like you would get thrown out and everything. But is there ever that temptation there of just that snap, just that no, I won't take this anymore? You know?
Yeah. For instance, I've had arguments with my dad where he's gone physical and it's just gone so bad and he's gone so aggressive about things, and I'm just like, for instance, I've been so tempted to swear at him. I haven't because a little bit. But
sounds like he deserves it, to be honest.
Yeah, he definitely does. But I have also had moments where I thought to myself, well, they're having this rant right now about gay rights. I should I just drop the mask and just say, well, I'm bi?
Yeah. Get fucked.
Yeah. Because at that point, it just feels like it is an attack. They are attacking, and whether or not they know it, they're attacking me too, and it hurts. And it just they're cunts. So sometimes it's just like maybe I should just say. But obviously, like I reel it back in. I don't because I don't want to die yet. No, I'm not going to get killed or anything. But like, I don't want to be on the street.
As we said earlier, safety is always the number one priority. I just wanted to know if the temptations ever were there, because I know.
Yeah.
I whenever I've wanted to say something, obviously not to that extreme, because my coming out is quite boring, to be honest. But like whenever I've wanted to say something, there's always just that thing in your head that's just like, just fucking say it. Just drop this bombshell right here and now, and see what chaos your life becomes. Because I don't want to keep this a secret anymore. Right.
It just gets to the point where it's just so difficult to keep in.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Right, Joel, this has been fantastic. But are there any final thoughts? Because I think this is where I want to leave the podcast, really.
Just to like 2 seconds bring it back onto what was meant to be the topic that we discussed before the podcast.
We've discussed a lot of topics. I think it's just been a good overall podcast.
But
go on.
I'm happy to see that the world is finally waking up and pulling away from the grip of religion, because it has essentially muzzled talks about sexuality, about sex, about gender, and it has left so many people problematic or with issues. Women have what rights now? Obviously, it's still not safe for women to walk around the street in dark. It should be. It's not safe for them to walk around any time, to be honest, because there's still people out there who will. Hopefully, as time progresses, those old views, those fucked up views, will just be taken away, just die out, really.
I very much hope that it is in our lifetime.
Yeah, hopefully. I'd love to see that.
I don't know if you just saw that, Joel, but my mother, who's in chat there, Maya Moore, just says good luck.
Yeah.
Just put a bunch of hearts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Which I think is very sweet.
Yes, thank
you.
Right.
I think you've made some fantastic points. This has been very enlightening conversation. People at home, stay safe. You always find your people, and check out some of these things. Check out Joel at twitch.tv/bottlerjoel. I'm just gonna quickly write that in my chat here, so anyone watching the VOD back, you can probably see this in the chat rerun, and his link will also be in the link of the description of the podcast, so make sure to check him out as well. And Joel, who was that? Is it Telltale Atheist?
Telltale, yeah. Yeah, I add the atheist because I know that it's not a very search friendly term, Telltale, because it's like so many different things use that name.
Like Telltale Games.
Telltale Games, yeah.
There's loads of them.
Right, okay. So go check out Joel. Go check out Telltale Atheist. Branch out don't be afraid to learn, and stay safe.
But
right.
stay safe. Yeah.
But stay
And-
safe. Number one.
Yeah.
And we will see you next week.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see
Goodbye.
you soon.
Bye.
Bye.